My name is Kwabena Chencheniboti. Many thanks for joining us here on News Desk. The Auditor General is recommending the prosecution of Chief Executive of the Tamale Teaching Hospital and other key senior staff for various acts of corruption that threaten the survival of the facility. The report, among other things, speaks of how management of the hospital deliberately circumvented procurement procedures to award supply contracts totaling nearly $500,000 Ghana cedis to two companies that did not compete in a tendering process that took place last year. We'll be speaking shortly to the head of our political desk, Fred Smith, who will be joining me in studio in just a bit with a lot more extracts of that very statement by the Auditor General. And we'll also be trying to get in touch with management of the Tamale Teaching Hospital to tell us a lot more about what really this means and why it is that they decided to circumvent the process and go outside what they were supposed to do to handpick people, if I should use that word, to offer a particular service. We'll be doing that in just a bit, but let's move on and do some other stories that are coming in today. And Director of Water Research Institute of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research has called for a review of the country's water purification system, and that the reports we are having suggest that the country's current system fails to remove harmful toxins produced by algae in fresh water sources. That's according to the Director of Water Research Institute, Dr. Joseph Ado Ampofo. He says although the current water purification mechanism by the Ghana Water Company meets the WHO standards, it fails to clean hazardous planktons in the country's water sources. Let's go on to the phone lines now and speak to Joseph Ado Ampofo, who is joining us via phone now. Mr. Ampofo, if you can hear me, good morning. Many thanks for your time on News Desk. Okay, right. So I'm told he's not on yet, but we have been speaking to quite a number of people. Obviously, the concern that has come up because of this, following this very release of the reports, is the fact that a lot of us do consume water from the taps, but apparently not so many people do that. But let's now go back to the phone lines and speak to Joseph Ado Ampofo, who is joining us via phone now with a lot more on this very should I say, research by the Center for Scientific Industrial Research. Mr. Ampofo, good morning. Many thanks for your time on News Desk.
Hello.
Dr. Ampofo, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good morning. Many thanks for your time here, sir. So, can you tell us a lot more about this research of yours that has gotten quite a number of people worried about the kind of water we are consuming today?
It was a caution statement from monitoring of the water at Wager. And so our responsibility to society is to
at Wager, the specific thing here is Wager.
Wager. It's Wager water we work with. Normally we take the raw water and then we take the treated water. And then you compare the two and see the levels of the algae and then the agar toxin or the poison of agar. So that's what we do. And so we've realized that it has passed the limit, the minimum limit, 1 milligram per liter of the toxin. And that is why we are calling on all stakeholders to sit up, including Ghana Water Company and then Water Resources Commission, and then the society. Since people are adding more waste into the water, they are adding fertilizer, waste to other waste products from homes and from industry. So the water is becoming more green, the Wager water. And the more green, the more algae and the more agar toxin. But the treatment plant we are using was not designed to remove the agar toxin. And that's why we are calling on Water Company to ask Water Resource Commission to stop people from polluting the Wager.
So it isn't the fact that the water is unwholesome for use, particularly for drinking?
Come again?
So I'm gathering from what you are saying now that it isn't the case that the water is unwholesome, that the water is not good for consumption.
It depends on what you mean by good. Because for now, the level inside is not suitable. So they have to check the source they are using for their treatment.
This research of yours, sir, we are told it's been a while since you've conducted this very research. I mean, how recent is it?
Come again.
I'm asking how recent this research of yours is, the research that led to you issuing that cautionary statement.
Oh, this year.
Is this year?
Yes. But this year we did for the algae, which produces the toxin. You see, there are two things. You check the agar level, and then you check the toxin. If the algae is increasing, the toxin increases. The last time we did the toxin was 2011, and it was 0.9. But now the algae has doubled, which means agar toxin will go up.
So all along we've been drinking impure water.
Because you don't die just drinking that quantity. But it's a cumulative effect.
And I'm believing that this information has been communicated to the Ghana Water Company Limited. But what has been their response?
Oh, well, you can find out from them whether they are taking it in good faith and trying to help, or they are fighting back.
Oh, so the Ghana Water Company Limited is fighting you on this?
No. Oh, they are not fighting us. I understand they are on radio saying something, but I don't know. They can't fight. They can't fight us because they know we are partners.
So essentially, you have communicated these results, these findings, to the Ghana Water Company, and
yes,
there hasn't been any response of some sort to acknowledge it and probably put in a few more measures to ensure that the water we drink is much purer than what it is currently.
I hope they are doing something about it.
You hope?
I hope, because I don't know what they are doing. You can find out from them whether they've put some measures in place.
Okay. And you're saying this survey is very recent. In fact, you conducted it this year.
Come again?
You're saying this research of yours is quite recent and that you did it this year.
Yeah, but it started about 6 years now.
You started when?
About 6 years now.
6 years. So it's been an ongoing process. Over the past 6 years, you've been conducting surveys on the toxin level of the water bodies.
Yes, every year.
Okay, so from where you sit, yes, clearly the situation is a bit bad now, but could it get any worse? Are things likely to get any worse? And could people who drink such water, particularly from Weja, could they be in any way affected in the very short run?
Not short time, long time. It's a long-term effect.
And what are the possible things that may happen to them?
You see, you have long-term effect, one on kidney.
Kidney?
Kidney. You can also have on liver. You see, all these filter the blood, and then you can have nervous reactions too. You can have diarrhea effect.
Some would say that you're being alarmist with this report of yours. Would you agree with those who say so, possibly including the Ghana Water Company Limited?
Not necessarily alarming. It's cautioning.
Yes, but in this caution, you make it seem as though the water from Weja, particularly, we shouldn't be drinking it at all.
If you don't drink it, you die today. You
so,
drink it and
so,
you die
so
later.
we are torn between the devil and the deep blue sea. We need to choose one.
That's it. You know, fish from the Asian Sea, we are not supposed to eat because of mercury. But they still ship them to us to eat. Why? Because if you don't eat, you will die. So why not eat and die later? It doesn't mean it is that safe. But because if you don't eat it, you will die.
Right. Okay. Dr. Adombofo, many thanks for your time on News Desk this morning, and we really appreciate your time because we do know you are heading into a meeting right now. So we really appreciate you agreeing to speak to us this morning. And that was Dr. Joseph Ado Ampofo. He's with the Center for Scientific and Industrial Research. He's been telling us a lot more about that survey That has gotten quite a number of people worried, including myself, because from what he has said, the toxin level, for instance, in the water we take from Weja are quite high and not good for consumption. Essentially, he says the long-term effects could be that you can even have a nervous reaction, or your kidney could have some problems in a while. But let's go to Ghana Water Company Limited and get a reaction from them as far as this very issue is concerned. And joining me now on phone is Director of Communications for the outfit, Stanley Mate. Mr. Mate, good morning. Many thanks for your time on News, sir.
Yeah, good morning.
So all along, you've been giving us unwholesome water to consume, particularly from Weja.
Well, I think that is wrong. It's not right. But then I would want that we put the discussion in context.
Okay.
Now, the research was done at our Weja treatment plant and the Densu River. Now, we all know that the Densu River is polluted, and for a very long time, we have been working on reducing the pollution of the river body. So we've done a lot of work in that area with the Water Resource Commission and other NGOs and all that, so that we could reduce the levels of pollution. So we are aware that the raw water is polluted, and we are aware that there's algae. Even if you look at the raw water with your naked eye, you will see that there's algae in the water. So we are aware about that. But then we also know of the dangers that algae poses to the human body. So as Ghana Water Company Limited, we have been doing everything possible to make sure that these things are kept. On Troy FM this morning, I made mention of the fact that we use activated carbon and other chemicals in taking care of the algae and other toxins. And the lady who did the research attested to the fact that yes, activated carbon, aside using it for other things, also is used in curbing this the presence of algae and other toxins. So she confirms the fact that we are doing the right thing. Now, the processes for treatment of water has been changing over a very long time. For instance, the way we used to treat water in the 1920s is different from how we treat water now.
Mr. Mate, sorry, but I'll let you hold on briefly, because from the information we have, speaking to Dr. Joseph Adwampofo, who's also with the CSIR, this survey or this investigation they've been doing has been going on for the past 6 years. But the one we are speaking of now...
The research was done in 2008.
No, just a second. The very one we are speaking of, the algae and the toxin associated with that very one, happened this year. That's what he's saying, that it's been a year.
No, let me explain to you. Now, when they do some of these researches, or on regular basis, the CSIR does research by their consultant, and then they put it out via a workshop. So we present at workshops. Now, it is one of these workshops that happened in April, where on the sidelines, the media interviewed him, and then it came up that there are some toxins in the raw water at Weja as a result of the research that they did in 2008. So although he released this information in April 2016, the research was done in 2008. So let's put it
so the clarity I want you to get here is that he tells us specifically that in relation to the algae and the toxin levels, that very research was conducted a year ago, 1 year, not 8 years as you are purporting.
That wasn't the impression that he gave us, and I'm also telling you what we know. But be it as
so you're saying the Ghana Water Company is not aware that
be it as we don't have a copy of the research. We don't have the copy.
They said they've communicated that to you.
They haven't done so. We don't have a copy. We don't have it. Okay, and if you read the graphic article, I told the reporter that we don't have it. They haven't given it to us. Okay, but what we do as a company is that we also do analysis of the raw water on regular basis. On daily basis, we do analysis of the raw water. So anytime we find out new contaminants or new pollutants, we stop the production process and try to identify the source and rectify it. You understand? Before we continue with the production process.
Okay, so what we have is that last year they took samples of the raw water and they compared it with the treated water, and they still saw that there was a lot of toxin in the water we were taking. And for me, as a consumer, that's very worrying.
Yes. So when was this? in 2008. And I'm saying that now we have.
Mr. Mate, I think you just want to downplay this very report, but like I was saying,
okay, so then
if we are speaking of specifics,
then you allow me to build my argument so that you know where I'm coming from and where we are now.
No, you want to refer, you want to focus on the fact that this research was done 6 years or 8 years ago, and I'm saying that we have spoken to them on this issue, and they tell us for the very discussion we are having, I'm speaking of the toxin level, that very research was conducted a year ago and not 6 years ago or 8 years ago, as you're speculating.
I think.
So if the water,
I also explained why he said a year ago.
Okay, so why did he say that?
The research was done a year ago, because even on Joy FM this morning, the lady who did the research also attested to the fact that it was done 8 years ago. Okay, but what I'm saying is the information came up just in this April on the sidelines of a workshop that they held. So let me build my argument so we can educate the general public better, including yourself. Is that okay? And I'm saying that in Ghana, we started water treatment in the 1920s. The 1920s, you will agree that the mechanism for treating water and even the levels of pollution of our river bodies is different as we have now. So from the 1920s till now, it has been changes in level of pollution and the pollutants that we have in the system and the way of treating water till now, because now there's a lot of technology. And we, as Ghana Water Company Limited, we have availed ourselves to every technology that comes on board just to help us improve or continuously and continually improve on the water, the quality of water that we serve our people with. Okay? So the way we treated water 10 years ago is different from what we do now. Currently, as I speak,
so you're saying the situation could have been bad some 8 years ago, but that's not the same now.
So that the public will be educated. If we keep interrupting, then we make everything.
Go ahead.
That's the point. Okay. Now, what I'm saying is that currently, as we speak, we use activated carbon in addition to other chemicals to take care of this algae and other toxins and other bacteria and stuff in the water. And this morning, the lady has confirmed that activated carbon is used in curbing the presence of algae and toxins in water. So we are all speaking the same thing. 8 years ago, things may have been different. 10 years ago, things may have been different. And even the levels of pollution in the raw water may have been different. But we are able to tell when there are new pollutants because of the regular analysis that we do of the raw water that we abstract for production.
So you're saying as things stand now, there's no cause for worry?
There's no cause for alarm at all. At all. And we still avail ourselves to more researches that are yet to come and more technology or newer technologies that are yet to come. Because for us as a company, we continuously and continually want to improve on the quality of water that we serve our people with.
I see. Okay. Right. Mr. Mate, many thanks for your time on News Desk this morning. And that was Stanley Mate. He's the Director of Communications for the Ghana Water Company Limited. Well, he was seeking to downplay on that very research. That has gotten quite a number of people worried. Essentially, Mr. Mate is suggesting that the water from Weja, it's okay. It's been treated and that there's no cause for worry. You can go ahead and consume it. But contrary to what we heard from Dr. Joseph Adoampofo, who is with the Center for Scientific and Industrial Research, he rather thinks that if you do consume that water, you might have some long-term effects. We'll still try and get a lot more perspectives on this issue and bring closure to it in coming bulletins. But as to whether or not you're going to consume that water or use it for other things, probably house chores, my colleague Patricia Gasu has been out and has been speaking to people, trying to find out from them what it is that they use water from our taps for. Take a listen.
Zaire has called for the review of the country's water purification system, revealing that the current system fails to remove toxins produced by algae. I'm in town today and I'm going to find out from people what they use their pipe-borne water for.
Yeah, I do use pipe-borne water.
Okay. What do you use it for?
No, I use it for bathing and then washing of utensils and all that.
Are you aware of the new toxin?
Yeah, I heard it in the news this morning.
Are you scared?
Yeah, I'm scared. It's very dangerous, you know. If it is true that what they are saying on the media is true, then it means Ghana Water have to take action to do something about it. Yeah.
I use my pipe-borne water to drink, to do my everything. in general.
So do you boil it or purify the water before using?
Yes, of course. I boil it before drinking or using it for anything because of what they have said or what they have heard before.
So
Yeah.
are you aware?
Because of that, that is why I always boil my boiling water before using, so that it will protect me and my family. Yeah.
The pipe-on water, do you boil it or do you purify it before using?
Not purify, boil, because I use it for food, so I'm boiling like in fact, like not necessarily, I don't boil before using, but whilst using I'm boiling because I'm cooking. And for drinking, I normally don't drink pipe-on water. We normally get water, bottled water.
Or sachet water?
Not sachet, bottled. My dad normally gets bottled water for the house, so we don't normally take pipe-on water.
So what do you think is the best thing to be done now?
Well, right now we have a lot of, what do you call it? These bottles, I don't know the exact names, but we have these bottles where you can actually see through the water. I don't know whether algae, I'm thinking algae can be taken through those. There's like these flags where like the water can be sieved. So I think that would be better if you have to take pipe-on water, because those bottles are not too expensive. Those flags are not too expensive. So, yeah.
So do you use pipe-on water?
Yes.
What do you use it for?
I use normally for washing and cooking. The cooking, it will going to be boiling itself on the fire. So I don't cook it before, I don't boil it before I cook.
So you view that the current system fails to remove harmful toxins produced by algae in fresh water sources. Are you scared?
Yes, I have to be scared because water is life, as I said. And if something life is contaminated, that means it's going to cause a lot of havoc in the system. Yeah.
So what do you think should be done?
The concerned members must be very fast and retrieve every sickness or any bacteria that may cause havoc. They have to treat it and give us a purified water to drink so that we can maintain our health.
For washing, we drink some too.
Do you purify, like do you boil it or you purify it before drinking?
Actually, it's already boiled. It's in a poly tank. It's already filtered, so. Or maybe they wouldn't say they will leave it like that. Maybe they will do something about it.
And what do you think is the best thing to do?
I think maybe putting in chlorine would do. Yeah.
So those were some views there. I do not know what you think, but you can go onto our Facebook page and put your comments on that very story there. We'll be bringing you all those comments on Joy News Interactive right after News Desk. President Mahama may not be aware of the harsh economic climate in the country because he does not engage in business. I'll be bringing you details of this and we tell you who exactly is saying this after this break. Stay on.